the BYU Management Society. I'm excited to be here. I have a couple of ideas I'd like to share here tonight and maybe illustrate those with some things that have happened to Roland over the years. If we look at the topic of moral and ethical leadership, and we think of the great people, throughout history and in our communities, they've got a number of characteristics. And I think if you look at them, integrity would be there, honesty would be there, but certainly you would also see work ethic, and you would see tremendous discipline. And I want to really focus on the work ethic and discipline side tonight because my father has inspired me and other people in our family, other people in the community, I think more than any other thing because of his work ethic and his discipline. Almost anybody can reach incredible heights through work ethic. The powers we gain through discipline are inspiring and almost even miraculous. Roland came up, he lost his mother when he was 5 years old. He was raised, with his older brother, by his father through the Depression. And he gained a work ethic. I think Valen's going to be touching in the biography a little more about this. But when I think about Roland, I think about a couple of symbols. I think about a bicycle. I think about an anvil. And I think about what he gained from those. And what he gained from those experiences that I want to talk about are far more valuable than the money he gained. Because essentially, Roland Romrell is work ethic. Roland Romrell is discipline. When he was a boy, they didn't have much money, and he got a paper route, like many boys, and he saved his money, started out with 10 people on a paper route over 10 miles in Ogden, Utah. Saved his money, and he got a bike. And I think about that bike. I think about what he learned, the habits that were hardwired into his mind from riding that bike through rain and snow and sleet and rain, from doing that route. Discipline is defined, I think the best definition I've ever heard on discipline is doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like doing it or not. There's a funny thing about papers. They have to be delivered. They have to be delivered whether it's snowing or not. People want to read their papers. And so Roland, he got great experience. And that experience, that habit of work ethic, I believe, is what our youth need today in our communities. We need to find ways, we need to find jobs, we need to find experiences so that our kids in these communities can grow up and they can learn discipline. I believe that discipline is the mother of all the other great attributes of moral and great leaders. And the reason is that discipline, with discipline, all the other characteristics are going to work. But without discipline, none of them are going to work. The people that we trust the most are the people with the most self-discipline. The people that we trust the least are the people with the least self-discipline. If we look out into the communities today, in the nation today, just recently, there was a hero, somebody that I really looked up to over the years. Read his book, was greatly inspired. We just recently found out that he was a fraud. He was a cheater. And he lost trust. Lance Armstrong. There was another man several years ago, Bernie Madoff. We all know what happened there. These are people that essentially wanted to have something for nothing, and they tried to shortcut and short-circuit the discipline and work ethic process. They tried to get something that they hadn't earned. And in the end, it never works. It might work in the short run, but it never works in the long run. You know, Roland was in the war, and he came back with an anvil from China. And he bought a blacksmith shop in Ammon. And when other people were in bed, Roland was up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he learned that he could make $50 when $50 was worth today, what, maybe like $200. He could make $50 before he ate breakfast. He liked that. People in the community also learned that they didn't have to set their alarm clocks. that anvil, I've had people come in and tell me they could hear that anvil from miles away. And they could set it, they could literally know that when the sun was coming up, before it came up, Garth Romrell was going to be hammering that anvil. And again, that self-discipline was something that is hardwired into Roland because he made it a habit. You know, and one of the interesting things is he was hammering along, and one day he heard about a new device that had been invented in Colorado. A man named Bud Harsh had invented this, and it was called a hoist. You had all these people coming back from the war, and everybody gearing up after the war, and they needed these hoists so that they didn't have all that manpower emptying trucks and crops. The hoist would lift a truck bed and dump the load. Roland went to Colorado, learned about this hoist, you know, got some hoists, put it on a radio ad. And a farmer in Teton heard that radio ad and called Roland, got the address. 2 hours later, he was in the shop and he bought the first hoist. You know, Roland, this is going to be big. He saw the idea, he saw the opportunity, and he got a hold of Bud Harsh, who was a big inspiration in his life, and he said, look, I want to do this not only on the retail side, but I want to get into distribution. And Bud Harsh said, well, that's great. You know, we could let you try this in Idaho and Utah, but you're going to have to buy $50,000 worth of these hoists. Now, that's a lot of money back in those days for somebody with a blacksmith shop. Roland didn't have quite that saved, and so he had a neighbor, the guy who had the house just west of the blacksmith shop, who heard Roland pounding the anvil morning after morning after morning, who knew about Roland's work ethic and discipline, and saw it. Roland went over and he really respected Reed Blotter. And he told Reed about this hoist and how it had sold, and Reed said, man, I want one of those. And Roland said, well, he told him about his plan. He wanted to distribute these hoists. And Reed Blotter, and he said, Reed, he said, do you think I should go for it? What do you think I should do? And Reed said, Roland, you go for it. In fact, I'll sign with you. Let's go over to First Security Bank today. I'll sign with you. You get that $50,000. Now, $50,000 back then, that's like maybe $300,000 to $400,000. You know, we think about moral ethics and leadership, and what do we get out of this? Why is it smart? Why is this a smart way to live life? You know, it really comes down to trust. It comes down to trust and leadership. Trust and leadership have to be earned over time through consistent work ethic and discipline. You know, and Reed Blotter, you know, without even hesitating, said, Roland, I'll go sign that note. Roland wasn't asking Reed for the money. You know, people can inherently sense who has integrity by what they do. And Roland Romrell was totally trustworthy. Totally trustworthy. You know, I believe today my father you know, is over 90, and I believe if he came up with an idea that needed $4 or $5 million in capitalization, he could raise that money in a couple of days. Because people trust Roland, they know Roland. And so that idea, I think, is very important, that trust that we gain. You know, the other thing, though, there's other benefits to the moral and ethical life that come from the discipline, the relentless discipline that we need to work on, and this work ethic. You know, another experience that really illustrates another point that I want to finally make is, you know, when Roland came back